Growing up, I was really fortunate that my father was successful in business and was getting invited to participate in, and occasionally even speak at all sorts of conferences around the United States and occasionally even around the world. And so we get to go on these really nice trips, stay at really nice hotels, from the Four Seasons to the Ritz-Carlton. The Hyatt Regency in Maui. It's really nice experiences growing up, and I was very fortunate to have that. And so when I get older, at 22, 23, I really get into the idea of traveling. And I started the exploration that led to what we now do here at Nomad Capitalist, the exploration where I started realizing that there are greater opportunities for many of the things that you're already doing in other places of the world, whether it's better banking, higher returns, more protection, etc. And as I started traveling, and when I first started out, I was running a growing business. And I would stay at halfway decent places. But my ambition was always to stay at the world's finest hotels, some of which I was privileged enough to stay in growing up. That was the goal. And I remember about 7 or 8 years ago, a friend of mine took me to a St. Regis hotel in the U.S., in California. And I said, wow, I've been traveling for a while now, but I should be traveling like this. As my businesses grew, I was always a little bit behind the game in terms of how much money I would spend on certain things. I've always been a conservative guy. I don't like to spend everything that I earn. I like to save most of what I earn, actually, especially now that I've reduced my tax rate to very, very low. And I said, yeah, this is what I want. I want these great, hotels of the world. And so fast forward a couple years, and I decided that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to stay in these great five-star hotels that are the envy of all. And so for a while, I was spending close to 200 nights a year in five-star hotels. And what I noticed was I would feel kind of weird sometimes. There were some hotels where they were very nice, but as an entrepreneur, I don't hold back. I don't really mince words. I like to be polite, but I don't do the things that a lot of other people do. And you're probably the same if you're watching this channel, where if you want to say something, you just say it. And you maybe try and be nice about it, but you're not, everything's in hushed tones. You just communicate normally. And I think that my experience at hotels was that wasn't the thing. It's very bureaucratic at most hotels. It's very diplomatic. I've always said that all these folks would do very well at the United Nations. And that's fine, we can all be different. But for me, I just never felt quite comfortable there. And the more time I spent at five-star hotels, especially corporate five-star hotels, for me it was the Marriott chain, which I've basically sworn off now. But occasionally, you'd go to a nice Hyatt, or you'd go somewhere else. And it just didn't really suit me that well. And so, what I decided a while into my time traveling was two things. Number one, I wanted to travel less. Our team has grown. I wanted my team to do a lot of the schlepping around the world. But when I was going to go and travel and see the different places in the world, I wanted to find a solution to hotels which I found weren't serving me. Because, here's what I found. A lot of folks think that the five-star hotels of the world are the place to be. And that's, you've really made it when you've gotten there. And I can tell you that as a kid, I thought that was making it. But what's interesting is, talking to and working with folks who are in the 8 and 9 and occasionally even 10 figures, what do they do when they want to go to different places? Well, they have one level that's even higher. And I found that this is something that everyone can apply if they want to live the nomad capitalist lifestyle. And what those folks do is they have homes around the world. And just as Tim Ferriss talked in the 4-Hour Work Week, how you can democratize things that used to be available only to the jet set elite. This is something that I believe that everyone can do, because I think that a lot of folks who are just starting out view the top hotels as if that's the top of where it goes. What I've decided to do instead now in my life is look at the places, having explored the world, and this takes a while. Obviously, you have to know where you want to be. You have to know the cities that you like, the places that you like. But knowing the places that I like, what I've made it my mission to do is to go out and acquire real estate in these places. It could be an apartment in the city. It could be land to build on in a more rural environment. That's something I'm actually working on more now and going into the future, looking for the winter lodge to go and hang out with the bearskin rug at the fireplace and no Wi-Fi and just do writing, read books, looking for the summer escape, the ski chalet, whatever it may be that you like. But you can have many different types of places. And so what I found is, in a lot of different countries, you can buy real estate and actually get a decent return on your money versus what you'd pay for a five-star hotel. Now, I personally don't buy properties in five-star hotels. So I know that you'll have the Ritz-Carlton residences or the St. Regis residences, or in Asia, the Banyan Tree residences. Many of these hotel chains have developed serviced residences that they slap their name on. And you've probably seen this concept get the most press with Donald Trump, who when he was running for president, a lot of attention was paid to the fact that he would license his name out to real estate developers, and there would be some kind of standard operating procedure for what they had to do to use the Trump name that they were paying for, and they could use that on their hotels. He wasn't actually running or building the hotels in many cases. I guess he does run some, but in a lot of cases he was just licensing his name out to apartment buildings that were in hotels. And so I don't buy in buildings run by hotels because they're generally way overpriced. I was looking at one in Kuala Lumpur just for fun recently. It's like 3 times the price for the same square footage. But what I have found is, for me, the patina of the five-star hotel wears off a little bit when you have your own homes that you can do whatever you want with. So I really like interior design. I've been improving my interior design skills over the years, and I really enjoy quality interior design. Five-star hotels, they do a decent job of it, but what I've noticed, the more I stay in them, and if you're going to be doing Nomad Capitalist long-term, you'll probably notice this too. You'll notice that the furniture is kind of chipped in some places, or the carpet's kind of stained, or the artwork is kind of boring. You kind of start to see the same things everywhere. And so for me, as much as your homes may not be as nice as a five-star hotel in terms of number one, amenities, or number two, you may not have gold fixtures or something. What I find is that by having homes, you get to be in control. The biggest thing that I like about being a nomad capitalist is I get to be in control. Not in a bad way. There's certain things I just don't want to control, but you get to control your tax rate, right? You don't have to pay 40 or 50% tax. You can control. You can choose how much you pay. Right? You get to choose where you spend time. You get to choose how you identify yourself, what passport you use, etc. But you also get to control the environment that you live in. And I think that for the 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs and above that we talk to, having good environments is very important. And for me, what I believe is better than the best hotels is having an environment that you get to craft yourself. Now, for me, I enjoy doing this. This is maybe my one hobby, is actually going out and doing interior design. And with each new home, I'm doing more innovative things. I'm doing nicer things. I'm doing nicer flourishes. I get comfortable paying more with each home. Mrs. H has recommended a couple things to me, such as nicer moldings and stuff like that have really made some of the homes look nicer. But this is something that if you've looked at the idea of staying in hotels and you like five-star hotels, I can tell you from experience, crafting homes that have the art that speaks to you, that have the flooring that you like, that have the fixtures that you like, long-term is not only a better investment because you can get an effective yield, getting back what you're not paying the hotels, and you can get a decent yield because you might stay in a $500 a night hotel in somewhere in Europe, or even more potentially in Europe. But you could buy a halfway decent apartment that's a little bit bigger and has its own separate kitchen and all of that, to where you might get a 6 or 7 or 8% yield. Now, tell me where in Europe you're going to get a 6 or 7 or 8% yield. But if you're spending time living in Europe, you don't have to pay rent. You don't have to lose that money. You can control your environment better. And when compared to hotels, I think that you basically can scale it into whatever you want. I'm not saying you should never stay at a hotel. I personally am on a mission to almost eliminate hotels from my life, other than going to a few hotels where I really like the people and I like to drink tea, or I like to have a cocktail, what have you. But better than the best hotel is an environment that you control, you own it. I personally have talked about how I don't rent my homes out when I'm there. But to those of you who've asked, why have I reduced time in hotels? It's because I'm making investments that sometimes give me a residence permit, sometimes give me a passport, but they put me in control. They put me in control of my environment. And what I found is I don't need the services. I don't need the stress of calling and saying, hey, can you send a teapot up? I know where my teapot is, and I have the teapot that I like, and I have the teas that I like, and I'm not waiting on others. I know that's something that a lot of folks that I have worked with, especially at the higher levels, have really appreciated, is they just like to be in control. I've had folks that we've worked with who have butlers who are sometimes the most highly trained butlers you would imagine. I'm not really at the butler level right now, and since I move around so much, it seems like a lot of logistics. And so short of having one of the world's best trained butlers, I just want to know where my teapot is. I can handle my own dry cleaning in my own home. I can have the number written down at the place and I can call them and send the dry cleaning out. I don't need the hotel to handle that for me, because what I can tell you is with these hotels, they're always making mistakes. You call the dry cleaning, you got to call them 4 times. Then they say it'll be there by 6, you're calling at 8 o'clock, where is it? I'm going out to dinner. Oh, we're very sorry, we're trying our best. And so this is not to complain about hotels, although I feel like I've graduated from them. It's to tell you that you can create the hotel-like environment, all the good things, plus a lot more control by simply buying properties all over the world. And so if you've been traveling and playing the hotel game, to me, this is the next level. This is better than collecting hotel points. You don't want to live like the guy, and God bless this guy, but you don't want to live like the guy who's doing inside sales for IBM in Melbourne, right? Nothing wrong with that, not opposed to it, but it's a different game. If you're going to a corporate job and you're used to a corporate environment, and then you travel and do sales calls and stay at a corporate hotel chain and you collect your points and then you go on a vacation once or twice a year, that's a different game than being in total control of your life as a 7 or 8 figure entrepreneur, living where you want, controlling your environment. This to me is really the ultimate level of living. How can Nomad Capitalist help you? 4 ways. Number 1, subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to make sure you get our new video every day. Number 2, get a copy of Nomad Capitalist, the book. You'll learn a lot of my personal experiences over a dozen years of studying this stuff, as well as exactly some of the strategies that you can use to build your Nomad Capitalist plan. Number 3, if you're not sure where to start, but you want to come and learn from my team and I, you want to come and mingle with like-minded people, learn more about our live conference, Nomad Capitalist Live. It's coming up soon. And number 4, if you want some help right now because you've got a burning issue, you need something solved, you want to lower your taxes, get a second passport, or build the Nomad Capitalist lifestyle of your dreams, go to nomadcapitalist.com and click on Become a Client.